Hey there. I'm really glad you're here because what I'm about to share could save you thousands of dollars and a whole lot of stress. Just yesterday, I saw something that made my heart sink. A young couple towing in a used car they had bought only 3 days earlier. The engine was already knocking, the transmission was slipping, and now they're facing $2,800 in repairs, on top of the $4,500 they'd just spent to buy it. It's a painful lesson, and the worst part is that it was completely avoidable. I'm your honest engineer, and after spending over 2 decades working hands-on with cars, I've seen the same patterns again and again. People buy cars that look great on the outside, only to discover serious problems hidden under the hood. That's why I want to walk you through 5 essential things every first-time car buyer needs to understand before putting any money down on a used vehicle. This isn't the kind of advice you'll get from a dealership. This is the hard truth from someone who's spent years fixing the expensive problems others didn't see coming. Let's start with the most important point of all, the car's maintenance history. This isn't a bonus, it's absolutely critical. Whether you're looking at a Toyota, a BMW, or a used Ford from 2010, none of it matters as much as how well the car was cared for. People focus too much on the mileage or the model year, but the real key to a reliable car is regular, consistent maintenance. Here's exactly what you should look for. First, check that oil changes were done regularly. Every 5,000 to 7,500 miles is ideal. This keeps the engine clean and prevents early wear. Next, find out whether the timing belt or chain was replaced around 90,000 to 100,000 miles. If this part fails, it can destroy the engine, and repairs can cost thousands. Also, check the transmission records. Has the fluid been changed? Was the transmission ever serviced or repaired? Lastly, look at the brake system, pads, rotors, any replacements or repairs. These give you a solid picture of how carefully the car was treated. But here's where it gets tricky. A lot of sellers, and especially dealerships, will say, "It's been well maintained," even when they have no records to prove it. That's not good enough. If there's no paperwork, assume the car wasn't cared for. Don't accept vague answers or empty promises. Ask for receipts, service logs, or printouts from shops. If they don't have them, you have to be ready to walk away. Let me give you a real example. A customer brought in a very clean-looking 2016 Honda Accord. It had 85,000 miles and no obvious problems, but there were 0 maintenance records. I warned them that without any service history, they were taking a big risk. They bought it anyway. 6 months later, the transmission failed completely. The cost to fix it? $3,800. That's the kind of expense that could have been completely avoided with just a little more caution up front. So here's my best advice. If a car has no records, you must insist on a pre-purchase inspection. This means having a qualified, independent mechanic look over the vehicle before you buy it. It usually costs between $100 and $200, but it's one of the smartest investments you can make. A good inspection can reveal hidden problems that even the seller didn't know about. And if the seller refuses to let you do it, that's all you need to know. Walk away and don't look back. Buying a used car should be a smart move, not a gamble. The very first step in making sure it's a good decision is checking the maintenance history. It's the story of how the car was treated. And if there's no story to tell, well, that silence speaks volumes. When you're looking to buy a used car, it's tempting to focus only on the price written on the windshield or the number on the website. It's natural. Our eyes go straight to that bold number, and we start doing the math in our head. Can I afford that? Is it under my budget? Is it cheaper than other cars I've seen? But here's the truth. The number you pay to buy the car is just the beginning. It's only the entry fee to owning that vehicle. What really matters is how much the car will cost you over time, month after month, year after year. This includes things like fuel, maintenance, repairs, insurance, registration, and how often you'll have to deal with breakdowns or expensive fixes. That's called the total cost of ownership, and it can turn a great deal into a financial nightmare if you're not careful. Let's go through a very common scenario. Imagine you see two used cars for sale. One is a luxury car that's about 10 years old, and it's priced at $15,000. It looks sleek, has a leather interior, maybe even a high-end brand name that turns heads. Sitting next to it is a 5-year-old Toyota, a more basic model, with a price tag of $18,000. At first glance, it seems obvious. The luxury car is $3,000 cheaper, so why not go for the nicer option and save some money? But the truth is, once you dig deeper, the numbers tell a very different story. That luxury car, for example, probably needs premium gasoline. That's the higher octane fuel you see at the gas station, and it usually costs significantly more than regular gas. If you drive regularly, that could mean an extra $300 to $500 per year, just for fuel. Now, you're already starting to lose those upfront savings. Next, let's talk about parts and repairs. Luxury vehicles often require specialized parts that aren't easy to find or cheap to replace. Something as simple as a broken sensor or an issue with the suspension might cost you hundreds or even over $1,000, more than it would with a regular car. In many cases, luxury cars also have more complex electronics and systems that require a skilled mechanic or even a dealership to fix. That means higher labor costs and fewer repair options. Another thing to think about is how cars behave over time. As a vehicle gets older and racks up more miles, it naturally needs more maintenance. But luxury cars, in particular, tend to have more issues after they pass 100,000 miles. Whether it's the transmission, suspension, electrical systems, or engine components, repairs become more frequent and far more expensive. Over just a few years, you might end up spending an extra $4,000 to $6,000 keeping that cheap luxury car running. Suddenly, it's not cheaper at all. In fact, it might cost you way more than the slightly more expensive Toyota you passed on. Now let's look at the Toyota. It may seem more boring. It doesn't have the fancy name or high-end look. But it's 5 years newer, and Toyotas have a strong reputation for reliability. It probably runs on regular gas, uses standard parts that are easy to find, and can be repaired at nearly any local mechanics shop. You'll likely spend less on fuel, maintenance, and repairs over the same 3-year period. That extra $3,000 you pay up front? You might save that and more by not having to constantly fix things. This is why it's so important to go beyond the sticker price. The car's age, mileage, reliability, repair costs, and fuel needs all play a major role in how much you'll actually spend to own and drive it. If you ignore those things, you could end up with a car that's constantly draining your wallet and stressing you out. Before you buy, take the time to research the exact car you're considering. Don't just look at the brand or the model. Look up the exact year and the specific engine or transmission that car has. Read about common problems that show up with that version. Use online forums where real owners share their experiences. These people are your best source of truth. They'll tell you what breaks, how often, and how expensive it is to fix. You might discover, for example, that a certain year of a car has a known issue with its transmission at around 90,000 miles, and that the repair costs $3,000 or more. That's the kind of detail that can save you from making a huge mistake. Another key point is where the car was built. European luxury brands like BMW, Audi, Mercedes, and Volvo tend to have much higher ownership costs than cars made in Japan or the US. This isn't just a rumor or personal opinion, it's backed by actual repair data. On average, European cars cost about 30 to 40% more to maintain over time. That's because their parts are more expensive, labor takes longer, and their systems are more complex. So, while they may look more impressive, they can easily eat up your budget with costly surprises. In contrast, Japanese brands like Toyota, Honda, Mazda, and Subaru are known for being dependable and affordable to maintain. American brands like Ford and Chevrolet also tend to have wide availability of parts and lower repair bills. That makes them easier to keep running smoothly without breaking the bank. So, here's the big idea. When you're comparing cars, don't just ask, which one is cheaper right now? Ask instead, which one will be cheaper to own over the next 3 to 5 years? The answer might completely change the way you look at those two cars sitting side by side. Be smart. Don't rush. Take the time to understand what you're really getting into. A car might seem like a good deal on the surface, but once you add in all the long-term costs, it could end up being a very expensive lesson.